following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Loft in Nashua, where we encourage you to view local. I'm Kathy Bailey-Smith, one of your hosts, along with Andrea Sebastian and Amber Logue. And today we have a really fun guest joining us, Cail Bellevance. Cail, welcome to the set of The Loft.
Great, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Cail and I go back a little bit. We used to work together at the Hunt Memorial Building. Cail is a trustee at the Hunt, and so we worked on a committee together, so that's how I know Cail. And Andrea, you were saying earlier you had some questions about Cail's name.
Well, I do. I mean, I've just met you like 10 minutes ago, and when I heard you were going to be our guest, I was like, her name is so unique. Where does it come from? What's the origin
of it? Well, it's not the leafy green vegetable. It's spelled differently, C-A-I-L, and it's short for Cailine. So. But where it comes from, I can't really tell you. I know my family, I have 4 brothers. I'm the only girl.
Okay.
And I come from very large families. My mom is one of 13. My dad is one of 10.
Wow.
And then we were the smallest family down from that with 5 kids. Okay. So I think they ran out of names. And they just started making things up.
So you've never come across it since? No one you've ever met? Or,
not spelled the same way, but I have met 3 men whose name, well, Cail, there was a race car driver, Cail Yarborough, there's, I don't know. So, yeah, no one, actually, I take that back. My son was on a football team this year on 5th grade, and there was a little girl who had the same name, Cailine, but it was spelled differently.
Oh, okay.
So,
interesting.
So, I don't know. It's
do people butcher it? Like, do you get different
Well, actually, that's why it was
variations
shortened to Cail, because my dad, I'm from the South, I'm from Nashville, and people, when they said it, they would say Cailine. And that southern accent, my dad's, Neil, Cail.
Like a Jolene, Cailine.
Exactly. At least they didn't call me by 2 names, which is what we usually So,
I'm familiar. I lived in South Carolina for 15 years, so I'm well aware of what they do with names and the double name and things like that. So it's really interesting. When did you move here?
I moved here 15 years ago.
Okay.
I married the local beer guy, Bellevance Beverage. So, and the company's been around since 1902. There was no way he was going to move south with that with that company history. So, I was a 5th grade teacher. I could teach anywhere. So, Nashua is my home now, and absolutely love it. Two blocks from Grandma and Papa, and the kids. It's been a great place to raise the kids.
Okay,
that's awesome. And Nashua is so lucky to have you, because you've really contributed so much to our community and just different committees, and you're very involved, so we're really lucky to have you.
I'm getting there. I love it. I love everything about it. I love, the people, and I love downtown, and I love the history. Really love the history. Right. Anyone who talks to me will get the glazed eyes, because I'll start spewing history. So,
did you just research it all yourself, or just because of your husband's connections and stuff? It's sort of like what you talk about around the dinner table. And
well, it started out with history, my husband's company history. But I came on and did a show with Kevin Avard last year. I have a huge collection of Nashua history from 1900 to 1925 that I found in this big trunk in my in-laws' house. So that's what really got me started in. And it's mainly that period that I'm interested in Nashua history, which is why the Hunt building is so great, because it was built in 1903, fits right in. So
she's the resident historian.
Yeah.
Everyone calls Cail if they have questions about, so what happened at 1892 downtown? And you probably know, right?
Yeah, I know a few things.
Yeah. And you're writing a book also. Aren't you writing a book?
I am.
And how's that coming?
It's great. It's so, people ask me about that. When's it going to be ready?
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't rush it, It'll be ready when it's ready. I enjoy it too much. I don't want to give it up, I don't want to put it out there, so it's probably going to be 1,000 pages long, but
But that's okay. And it's in Nashua. It takes place in Nashua.
It's all Nashua. It's all in the north end of Nashua and downtown. It's all based on everything I found in that trunk. So
well, what's really interesting about Cail, or I found very interesting when we would talk, is that you really become taken by the characters, not the characters in the novel, but even at the Hunt building, like the woman sitting at the desk in an old picture, and she would really research this person, and it was just really interesting that how connected you would come with the people of these different eras.
Well, that's what I love the buildings, and I love all the old buildings and stories, but it's the people that really fascinate me. I just love to find out who did what, and I mean, who's responsible for what Nashua is today, and the idea of what the people are interested in and what they care for.
Is there one person like in particular that so far is like your favorite person that you've kind of discovered during that time?
There's a great guy who was Oscar Ballou, and he is connected with the Hunt building.
Oh.
He was a janitor. He was a caretaker for the Hunt building, and as far as I can tell, he's the longest serving public employee of Nashua. 55 years he worked.
Wow.
He went to the Hunt building when it was built in 1903. He'd actually been working for the library a couple of years before that, but then he was there for 55 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Did you research?
See, there it goes. There it goes.
Do you know as much history about your family background?
Not really.
No?
I mean, I told you, there's so many people. I mean, that's a big can of worms to try to get in. I know some. I know, direct lines and origins back to, just general Austria, European, that kind of thing. And I know some stories too, but I'm not going to tell you those.
Oh, come on, give us another couple minutes.
Other people's stories. Not my laundry, other people's laundry.
That's awesome.
Who was the woman that was sitting, the picture that I'm thinking of?
Oh, you're thinking of Blanche Willoughby.
Yeah.
And she was the first children's librarian, and she had a tragic ending. That's why you remember that story. She did. She was young. She was 30 years old. She was engaged, and her husband-to-be decided to move to California for his health. There were a lot of lung TB-like diseases going on, and apparently he had that, and she became very distraught, and she left the Hunt building one day and walked to the river and walked into the river.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one's a little
sad.
a little spooky,
A little tragic,
sad,
right?
but she's got such an interesting history.
Right.
Before that, she was in a train wreck in Canada. The train wrecked, and she was alive.
Wow.
And to survive something like that, and then to take that end, it's just she's got a lot of interesting,
That is interesting.
Yeah.
How do you go about finding this information?
I dig. I'm at the library. I'm online and old newspapers, and what I found in the trunk, that's a huge. There are newspapers from every year, from 1900 to 1925. At least 10 newspapers for every year. At some, 20 to 25 newspapers for some years. Wow. So there's a lot there. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And so, have you had people contact you locally who know that you have this as a passion and an interest, and say, okay, I need some info on this?
I have collaborated with a lot of people who are looking, for their history and then or offering me information, and it's so great. It always seems pertinent to me. I don't know if I cast such a wide net that it's always, or I'm just really interested in it. But the connections have been amazing. I can't drive down the street anymore though without knowing, what happened here, and what happened here. So, yeah.
It's interesting you bring up about people connecting. As you're saying that, I just had this light bulb go off. So my stepfather had this best friend growing up their whole life in Nashua, and his best friend never married and had passed away, and so he had his belongings. And then, unfortunately, my stepfather had passed away, and so I found this picture book. It's about this thick. I'm like, what is this? And I started looking. It's not his family. It was his friend's family. But there's so many people. The photos go all the way back to, when you would have the nun over or the priest over, and they take the photos with the priest or the nun, and birthday parties and pictures. It'll be interesting. It has no names anywhere, but I decided, I'm going to hold on to it, and it's going to mean something to somebody somewhere, and I don't want to give it away until it's like, I feel like it's I have to protect it until I can give it to the rightful owner. And so we'll have to talk about that.
Is it for here in Nashville, the pictures?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just pictures. I've never pulled any of them out. I'm sure they probably have info in the back. No, but it's really cool. It's just a cool book.
I would love to see that. So. Yeah, I would love
Wouldn't
to see
it be crazy,
that.
like, if you're sitting there and looking through it, and you're like, oh, I know who this is.
Yeah, that's
and I know who
so-and-so.
that is.
Right.
I know the story of that person. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you connect
Love
the
to see
dots,
it.
Yeah.
and then you're connecting the dots to say,
Yeah.
hey, I can give you some information that you didn't already know, and that's pretty neat
Yeah, right.
to be able to kind of verify that for
That would
people.
be great.
And so
Right.
is your book fiction, nonfiction?
Well, I haven't determined the exact what I want to call it. It's not fiction. I mean, it's all based on real events and real. The way I'm writing it, I have to put in some emotion, and there's some, there's some dialogue that I kind of have to create. So, for that, I'm going to have a disclaimer that I did that.
Right.
But there's nothing I have to make up about it. There's drama. There's everything that there is today, there was then.
Right.
And it's such a fascinating period because it goes, if you think of 1900 and no cars, and I mean, there were cars, but actually, no, not until 1910 and 11. But just the whole, mobility changed, the way people ate and dressed and everything did a big flip right there in the golden age and around World War I. So it's a lot. And,
Is this the first book you've ever written?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was a fifth grade teacher. So
History?
well, you teach history in fifth grade too, and that was my favorite. I
Right.
taught at Charlotte Avenue, so a lot of those kids will remember me getting excited in the history classes and dressing up, and I still have an attic full of costumes for coming in.
Oh, that's so awesome. I wish I would have had that.
Yeah,
I would have been way more interested.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back shortly with Cail, and she's going to tell us all about the Festival of Trees and the upcoming holiday winter stroll. Welcome back, and if you're just joining us here, I'm Kathy Bailey-Smith at the Loft with the ladies and Cail Bellevance, the trustee at one of the trustees at the Hunt Memorial Building. And Cail, we wanted you to tell us about the Festival of Trees, the holiday stroll, get us excited for the upcoming holidays, and get people involved in this event. It's a great event.
Yeah, it is. I love the Hunt Building, and I love the Festival of Trees and the stroll, but the Festival of Trees started 3 years ago. This is our third official year in the building. I think it's been done before a couple of times downtown, but this is the third year in the building. We ask businesses and organizations, individuals, any kind of group, to decorate and donate Christmas trees from 3 feet to 7 feet tall in any theme they would like. they can promote their businesses or their groups. They can add brochures, and they can add gift certificates if they'd like, but that's not required. So we fill the great room of the Hunt building with those trees and the foyer, and we show them off for 2 weeks in December. The premiere viewing is at the Stroll. So, the Hunt building always has Santa's castle. So the kids come in after they like the big tree outside. The kids come in and see Santa and Mrs. Claus. And what we did, and Kathy was with me when we made this transition, and it's been great, we open the Festival of Trees for the kids to be able to come in and go through the trees and see all the trees, be inside where it's warm, and enjoy the trees while they're waiting for Santa Claus. Because if you've been at the Stroll, you know that the line for Santa goes all the way down the sidewalk. Sometimes it's circled the building. And if it's a year, hopefully, the weather's great now, but hopefully, if it's a cold night, it really helps to have those kids in there. And then last year was the first year that we had the kids inside to see the trees. And it was the best thing. I loved being there. I used to teach 5th grade. And to see those kids come in, with the big eyes and just the happy, it was just the most festive Christmas thing, that I did all last year.
And it's a really good start to the season.
Yeah. It is.
It really puts you in the mood. You just finished with Thanksgiving and, come on down and it's, lit and all the other little things that happen. People, kids are like so excited about
Right.
it.
And for those that don't know, it's the holiday stroll is always the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Right. This year, it's the 28th, Saturday the 28th. There are a lot of good things going on. Paul Shea's doing a great job, with Great American Downtown, with just the different, adding new elements to the stroll. And I'm really excited
What are some
for
of
it.
those elements? Give us a preview.
I don't
What's
know.
going
He
on?
wants me to tell. Because it's live, and you can look it up at the Holiday Stroll page on Facebook. I know they have the animals, the animatronic animals that were at the Fall Festival. I don't know if the Gate City Fall Festival that was at
I did see those,
Pullman
yes.
Stadium. Those are going to be there.
So you can ride them and they walk and they're,
Yep, right.
they're little animals.
Right.
How so fun. Cool.
Yeah, those will be there. And I know we have, the ice sculptures again. What else?
What was the theme this year on the ice sculptures, isn't it? I don't remember.
They're made out of ice. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that'll be It looks really good. So, but back to the trees. What we do is so we're open for the stroll. We're open the day after the stroll because a lot of times the big people want to see them too, but to get in there and with the kids in line, it's kind of hard. We try to pack them in so everybody can be out of the cold. But so we're open the next day, and then the following weekend we're open with the Symphony New Hampshire's Holiday House Tour. So if you've ever been on that, they have 5 houses that are decorated, and they showcase those. And then you can come to the building as part of that as well. We last year we had they have sort of a market bazaar kind of place at the end, so people can visit the homes and then have a place to buy crafts and we were that last year. I believe we're going to be that again this year too.
Oh,
so
good.
yeah, but it's great to come in and see all the trees, and usually they provide music and they're different performers, and that's great too to hear some really good music while you see the trees. So we're open that weekend, and then the following Friday, which is December 11th, we have our gala, which is the night where we auction off the trees. All that money goes to preservation of the building and to our Restore the Doors Fund, which if you drive on Main Street and you see the front doors of the Hunt building, they're these glass doors. They're industrial-looking glass doors that were installed in like the early 70s. I think it started in 69 or 70. And they are attached to what looks like walls. Those walls are the original doors of the Hunt building. They're cemented in place. And what we're doing is restoring those doors and then having them brought back and to be used the way they were originally. And it's a big project.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it's an expensive project. So that's what we've been doing for a while. So we auction the trees, and that money goes toward those things for preservation and for restore the doors.
What are some of the themes of the trees? I know you said like
All
just
over the
businesses
map,
and stuff,
yeah.
but, like,
It's all over. Last year, the big thing was Frozen. That
Right,
was everywhere.
right.
So we had some of those, but we have. So we had Symphony New Hampshire had a tree, and it was all about music. Nashua Bank. Oh, they come through with some great
That's the one with the dollars.
They
on
had
it?
money
I went
on there
It was
last year.
incredible. It was actual money.
It was great. Karen Duchesne does an
Yes.
amazing job on that.
Right.
But you know, one that I love is the Nashua Police Explorers.
Right.
Those kids come up with trees that are incredible. The first year they had a tree, and these are kids who are in a training program for, possibly wanting to go into that field. They had a tree that had blue lights that chased around. It had a blue light on the top that spun, and they had videos of, like DVD videos of cop movies.
Oh, that is so
And
cool. I
all
didn't
kinds of things. It was unbelievable.
And they were so excited about putting this together,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
thought was really cool.
That was great. And then last year they had a tree that was American themed, and they had painted it red, white, and blue to start. And that was just the beginning. It had all kinds of things on it. They had one of the funnier ones from the first year. I don't know if you remember, Justin Cates with the
Yes.
Department of
Yes.
Emergency Management did a tree that it was an emergency kit in a tree. Okay, so it had duct tape. It had flares, I think. I can't remember. It had all these things on, and then it came with a bucket. So when you bought the tree, you just took everything down and put it in your bucket, and you had your emergency bucket ready. That's awesome.
So creative.
Very
It was
creative.
Great. So yeah, I mean we've had the range of really funny trees and just gorgeous trees. I know St. Joe's Hospital did a tree the first year that was angel themed, and it was beautiful. It was it was stunning. Last year, Nashua Catholic Junior High had a tree that was gorgeous too. It was white and blue, and just a mixture of all the colors, and with the lights of Main Street. And then we have our big window that looks at the south end of Main Street. So when you have the city tree outside, when that lights up and you're inside, it lights up the entire window. It looks like it's part of the Festival of Trees. So it's a magical place to be. So
How do businesses or organizations submit
well,
to be a part?
They can go to the city website and they can get there by it's huntbuilding.org. We'll take you to the city website, or we're on Facebook, or they can just email me, and I've given this out before too. It's Cail Bellevance, all one word, at Yahoo, and just let me know. We're getting very close, so we can only have 30 trees.
Are you getting
And
close to
we're
the 30?
so close
Yeah.
because we try to make room for everybody who
Right.
wants to, So
But you don't want it overcrowded either,
No,
because
no.
then you're not going to really appreciate all the work that the individual trees have. you
Right.
know?
Well, Kathy knows too, though. The city has trees that they've that come to the Hunt Building every year, and we decorate those. So the more people I have donating, the fewer trees I have to decorate. From the
So
city.
please.
Bring them on, bring them on.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And some of the trees at the Hunt they're really tall, big trees. I mean, there's a lot of decorating going on
There's a
over
lot
there.
of decorating going on. Last year, one of the great things, though, that happened, the first year people bought the trees and, they took them home. And last year, several of the trees went to hospice patients. That was awesome. And then also they went to some families in need. It was great. Joy Barrett delivered, a couple, and my husband delivered a couple, and, just to do something like that. Because a lot of people, you can't come and buy a tree every year, for your own home. Well, you can if you want. I would sell them to anybody, but it would be weird.
Yeah.
So, but, when people come and they buy the trees, and then it helps us, and then, you give them to somebody like, like that.
Right.
That's
what the
Christmas
spirit is,
about,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the spirit of the whole event? I mean, it's really getting people in that mindset and the spirit. And even the people, the organizations or businesses that come and decorate, they really make it a party in there.
They do.
I mean, it was kind of fun to watch that. Like some bring wine and they're decorating and
Right. Yeah.
So it's
That's
really
what I was
kinda
gonna
cool.
ask, like, is it a whole day event kind of thing? Like you have the setup
Well, no, the
know,
setup,
or-
we try to accommodate people. I mean, it's hard, you know, for some businesses who are in there and they want to be a part of it, you know, with their crew. So starting the 17th of November, and then we have to have the trees in place before Thanksgiving. So 17th through the 24th, I believe, it's Tuesday to Tuesday that week. We schedule everyone to come in so that we can, our new administrator, Amy DeRoche, is there from around 1 to 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So people who can't get in during that time, I'm available to let them in.
And one thing I wanted to mention too, because with Christmas parties, it's beautiful to have a Christmas. So if an organization or a business wanted to have a Christmas party, you have the perfect backdrop.
Right, already decorated
Right.
for you.
So
Right.
it's just, I mean, it really is gorgeous. Or a wedding or whatever it is, that event that you're thinking of having. So it's like kind of already done. You
Right.
don't have to do any decorating.
Right.
So it makes it really special.
Glad you mentioned that. Get that in there. Rent the building. That's the other thing. You know, I still have a lot of people don't know that we're available to rent for
Right.
parties.
Right.
Well, you know, until Kathy started working there, I'm new to the Nashua area, so I had no idea what it was. It just looked like a beautiful old building.
Right.
And then when she, you know, I would go meet her for lunch a couple of times, and I would just kind of like walk around. I was like, it's just stunning in here. It's
gorgeous.
So it's kind of cool that it is able to be open for public events and private parties and things like that. And it is, you know, I don't think people would be disappointed if they booked it.
I don't either. We haven't had any complaints so far, and it's really getting busy. So
Last year, the Festival of the Trees was actually the first time I had ever been into the building. And I was overwhelmed. It was incredible. It was so beautiful, let alone the trees, but the building itself is so beautiful.
It is.
And the gala is just, it's put together so well. Last year was catered, and they had these little topiaries, trees on the tables, but there was actually olives that decorated, that made the tree. So, you know, I'm not going to say how many I ate, but I may have had a tree. And so it was just so fun.
that was
It
Kate
really
Ross.
Yeah.
She did such a good job for us
Amazing.
last year. Right.
Amazing, just beautiful. So tell us again how people can reach you if they have questions about this event. And
Right, they can go to the city website, or
Right.
they can go to huntbuilding.org, or on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, or they can just email me directly at cailbellevance@yahoo.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Sure.
You were so fun to talk to.
Well, thanks for having
And
me.
now everyone knows about your name.
I know. Not the vegetable.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of The Loft in Nashua. Stay tuned for our next episode in a couple of weeks, and we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, enjoy your community.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.